The Blue Ridge Mountains are quiet, too quiet. Mist clings to the pine-covered slopes like a ghostly veil, and the wind moves through the trees with a whisper that seems almost intentional. Locals say that if you listen closely on certain nights, you can hear something that shouldn't be there. Something ancient, something mournful. They call it the Phantom Train. No one remembers the exact origin of a legend. Some say it's the ghost of a passenger train that derailed over 100 years ago, carrying souls that never found rest. Others claim it's a spectral engine, doomed to repeat its last journey, racing through the mountains when no tracks remain. But all agree on one thing. If you hear it, you don't just listen, you feel it deep in your bones. The first story begins long ago, in a time when the mountains were alive with the iron scream of steam engines. Towns grew along the tracks, smoke rising from chimneys as the trains roared past. But then, one cold autumn night, a train vanished. Locals never found a trace of it. No wreckage, no survivors, just the echo of its whistle fading into the fog. Since then, the sightings have been sporadic. Hunters, hikers, and night travelers all tell the same thing. A distant whistle cuts through the silence, low and mournful, followed by the sound of wheels clanging on rails that aren't there. Shadows of a train can appear between the trees, glowing faintly like embers in the darkness, before vanishing as suddenly as they arrived. People speak of the train in hushed tones. Some say it comes for those who wander too far from the path. Others claim it appears as a warning, a reminder of a tragic past that refuses to be forgotten. One elderly resident, sitting on his porch overlooking the ridges, swears he once saw the train cross a cliff that shouldn't support rails. It disappeared, leaving nothing but the smell of burnt coal and the lingering fear that something beyond understanding had passed by. It's not just the sight or the sound, it's the feeling. A chill that seeps into your bones, a low vibration in the earth beneath your feet, a sense that someone or something is watching. Even seasoned mountain folk avoid the paths at night, steering clear of places where the train has been reported. And yet, some are drawn to it. Curiosity is a dangerous thing in the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Phantom Train doesn't care who you are, but it notices. Every story has a common thread. Those who seek it too boldly often don't return the same, or at all. Tonight, in the mist-laden hollows, you might hear it too. A far-off whistle that cuts through the fog, long and lonely, growing closer with every second. You might convince yourself it's just the wind, but the locals know better. And if you're unlucky enough to see it, the Phantom Train will mark you. Night falls quickly in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Shadows stretch long across the narrow dirt paths, and fog drifts like restless spirits between the trees. Every step seems louder than it should be. Crunching leaves, snapping twigs, the distant rustle of animals that vanish before you can see them. It's on nights like this that the whispers start. Faint at first, almost like the wind moving through the pines. But if you listen, really listen, you hear something else. Voices. Low, unintelligible, echoing from the depths of the forest. Not human, not quite. Locals warn travelers. If you hear the whispers, don't follow them. They say curiosity is dangerous in these mountains. But some can't resist, and that's when things go wrong. One story tells of a young hunter named Caleb. He had heard the legend all his life, but one evening, fueled by bravado and moonlight, he ventured into the foggy hollows to catch a glimpse of the Phantom Train. He carried only a lantern and a rifle, the glow barely piercing the mist. At first it was silence, then a faint whistle, so distant he thought it was a train from the next town. He paused, straining his ears. That's when he heard the whispers. Low, mournful, circling him from every direction. They seemed to be coming from the trees themselves. He tried to follow them, rationalizing that someone might be lost or in need of help. But the forest was a maze. The whispers led him deeper, twisting paths he swore he knew. The mist thickened, wrapping around his ankles, swallowing his lantern light. His heartbeat pounded louder than the whispering voices. Then he saw it, a faint glow ahead, the unmistakable shape of a train, glowing like embers, suspended impossibly among the trees. The tracks weren't there. The engine's whistle blew again, a sound that made his blood run cold. It wasn't just a noise, it was a call, an invitation, a warning all at once. Caleb froze. The train seemed alive, shifting closer as if aware of him. He could see passengers inside, or their shadows, twisted and motionless, staring at him with eyes that burned through the fog. Then the whispers surrounded him. They weren't words, not exactly. More like the sighs of a lost, the echoes of 100 souls trapped between rails and reality. He turned to run, but the forest had changed. Every tree looked unfamiliar. Every path led to nowhere. And somewhere, just behind him, the sound of iron wheels grinding, scraping, getting closer. In the Blue Ridge Mountains, nights like this are not uncommon. Hikers vanish. Hunters go missing. Some are found days later, wandering along ridges, eyes wide, muttering about a train that shouldn't exist. The locals just know to stay inside, keep their doors locked, and never, ever follow the whispers in the fog. Some nights, the Blue Ridge Mountains feel alive, not with animals or wind, but with something older, something that watches, waits, and hunts. For those brave enough to seek the phantom train, the forest becomes a predator. Jake, an amateur thrill seeker, had always dismissed the legends. He was confident, armed with a flashlight, a GPS, and the bravado of youth. But confidence is fragile in these mountains. The moment he stepped into the misty hollows, he felt it, an unshakable chill crawling along his spine, as if invisible eyes were tracing his every movement. The whistle came first, distant, haunting, but unlike the stories, this whistle was closer, sharper. He froze, listening as it echoed through the ridges. Then came the whispers, weaving around him. Not the soft sighs of lost souls. These were insistent, urgent, almost angry. Jake followed them anyway. Curiosity pulled him forward. The GPS flickered in the fog, spinning uselessly. Trees loomed like sentinels, their shadows twisting unnaturally. And then he saw it, a faint, fiery glow slicing through the darkness. The train. It was impossible. Tracks disappeared into the trees. Steel rails floated above the earth. The engine's smokestack belched black smoke, glowing faintly, as though lit from within by a hellish fire. He could see the passengers, or their twisted shadows, pressed against the windows, staring with hollow eyes. A sudden clatter snapped behind him. A fallen branch? Maybe, but the sound grew louder, followed by a low rumble. Jake turned to see movement in the mist. The forest itself seemed to shift, guiding him, corralling him. And then the train's whistle blew again, closer this time, vibrating in his chest, shaking the ground beneath him. Panic surged. He tried to retreat, but the path had vanished. The whispers swelled, circling him, calling his name in voices that weren't human, that weren't alive. Every instinct screamed to run, but which way? Every tree looked identical, and the fog swallowed his light. And then he felt it, a pressure in the air, like the engine itself was breathing down his neck. The train appeared impossibly close, moving without rails, climbing a slope that defied gravity. Its wheels ground against the earth, sparks flying, black smoke curling around the twisted branches. Jake realized he wasn't just witnessing the train. He was part of its hunt. The whispers screamed now, urging him toward it. But there was no safety in approach. Every step forward felt wrong, as though he were walking into another world entirely. The passenger's eyes glowed faintly, and he could swear he saw hands pressing against the glass, reaching for him. He ran blindly, but the forest had trapped him. Every path led back to the glowing engine. The whistle blew again, sharp, deafening, and a figure appeared on the tracks, a conductor shrouded in shadows, pointing directly at him. Jake stumbled, falling into a hollow, the mist swallowing him whole. Behind him, The grinding wheels continued, louder, relentless. The forest was silent, too silent. The mist hung thick and suffocating, curling around every tree, every rock like it was alive. Jake's flashlight had died hours ago, or so he thought, but the glow of something else lit the darkness ahead. Something impossible. The phantom train. It didn't move along rails. It floated, shifted, and twisted through the mountains like a living nightmare. Sparks flew from the wheels, though the steel tracks vanished into nothing. The engine's whistle pierced the night, echoing off the cliffs, vibrating in Jake's chest. Each echo carried 1,000 whispers, calling his name, urging him closer. Shadows moved inside the train. The passengers weren't human, not anymore. Their faces twisted in silent screams, pressed against the glass, hands clawing at the windows as if begging for release. Jake felt a cold, invisible hand brush his shoulder, and he spun around. Nothing. Only fog. Only whispers. He stumbled backward, his breath ragged, heart pounding. And then it happened. The train split. A second engine appeared on a ridge that shouldn't exist, climbing a slope that twisted impossibly into the sky. It wasn't just one train anymore. It was a nightmare made real. The conductor's figure appeared again, shrouded in darkness, motionless yet commanding. Jake tried to run, but the forest had changed completely. Trees bent toward him, roots twisted into barriers, and the ground seemed to pulse underfoot. Every instinct screamed danger, yet escape was impossible. Then the train's horn blew, a long, mournful wail that rattled Jake's very bones. Time distorted. The train was everywhere and nowhere, appearing and vanishing, following impossible paths through the fog. The whispers intensified, a chorus of the lost, the damned, the forgotten, pressing on his mind. And then he heard it, the clatter of chains, the screech of brakes on steel that didn't exist. The train slowed, or maybe it wanted him to think it did. A shadow leapt from the engine, tall, skeletal, with glowing eyes. The conductor, or what had replaced him. Jake's knees gave out. He fell into the dirt, trembling. The figure loomed closer, silent except for the faint hiss of steam and the grinding of wheels. A flash of light, just for a second, revealed the hollow-eyed passengers. They weren't staring at him. They were staring at something behind him. Something in the forest that had followed him here, drawn by the train's call. He dared to glance back. The mist thickened, and he saw a tunnel of darkness, like a wound in the forest. Tracks glimmered faintly, leading straight into the void. The train's whistle cut through the air again, sharper than before. It wasn't asking anymore. It was demanding. Somehow, Jake knew the truth. The phantom train was not bound by tracks, not bound by time, not even bound by this world. It existed between realities, between life and whatever lies beyond. And tonight, it had chosen him. The fog swallowed the ridges. The forest pulsed with life that shouldn't exist. The whistle blew once more, louder, omnipresent. The train was coming, always coming. And Jake, whether he ran, hid, or prayed, had no place left to escape. Then silence. Or perhaps that was just the calm before the final whistle. Morning in the Blue Ridge Mountains often looks serene. Sunlight drifts lazily across the ridges. Birds sing. Fog melts away like it was never there. But the locals know better. Some mornings are quiet for a reason. Some trails are avoided forever. Jake was never seen again. The forest holds no trace, no footprints, no flashlight, no whisper of human life. Only the trees remain, dark and patient, as if guarding secrets too terrible to speak aloud. Yet, the phantom train never stops. It moves through the mountains, unseen by most, heard by few. A whistle echoes through a hollow at midnight. Shadows flicker between the trees. Hikers sometimes swear they see sparks of fire on invisible rails. The train doesn't just appear. It announces itself, calling to the curious, the daring, the foolish. Some who vanish are never found. Others return, changed, eyes wide, voices trembling, Speaking of impossible sights, the forest takes a toll, etching fear into the soul. And those who dare speak of it are met with suspicion. Everyone in the mountains knows some things are better left unknown. Locals tell a chilling tale. If you hear the whistle and see the glow, it's already too late. The train is more than a legend. It's a passage, a crossing between life and whatever lies beyond. Some say the lost travelers are trapped in the carriages forever, shadows pressed against glass, doomed to replay the journey that never ends. Even now, in the deepest hollows, hikers report strange occurrences. Footsteps that match no living creature. A faint train whistle in the distance, fading and returning, louder each time. A mist that refuses to disperse, twisting unnaturally around rocks and roots. The phantom train is patient, eternal, waiting for the next curious soul brave or foolish enough to follow it. Some swear that at night, you can see the faint glow of its lights from the ridges, a warning or a promise. No one can say for sure which. So, if you ever find yourself wandering the Blue Ridge Mountains after dark, listen carefully. The wind may carry the whispers. The fog may hide impossible paths. And somewhere in the distance, or perhaps closer than you think, the whistle blows. Long mournful, insistent. Will you turn and run, or will you follow it? Remember, the mountains never forget. The phantom train never sleeps. And those who vanish leave only echoes behind, echoes that might reach you long after the whistle fades. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. Some legends are alive, waiting for you.